There's a drug that's probably killing your potential. I know it's not something illegal. Your boss applauds you for taking it. Your family praises you for it. Society gives you a badge of honor for using it. That drug is called busy. We've been seduced by sweat. We believe that if we are sweating, we must be working. If we are exhausted, it means we probably must be succeeding. But let me give you a reflection. Let me give you an image. I want you to picture something with me. You're in a gym, and next to you there's someone on a treadmill running full speed, pouring out sweat, heart rate about 180 or whatever, breathing hard. They've been at it for about an hour and they look exhausted. They look like they've been working harder than anyone else in the gym. But when the hour is up and they step off that treadmill, they are in the exact same spot they started. They ran a marathon and then they went nowhere. Now picture another man walking slowly up a staircase, not sweating nearly as much, not working nearly as hard, at least not visibly. He's just walking. But then every step he takes changes his elevation. Every step he makes, he's going somewhere. Now after an hour, who walked harder? The man on the treadmill, of course, but who actually went somewhere? It's the man on the stairs. One has activity and the other has progressed. And most of us have been trained to confuse the two. Welcome back to Future Foundations. Today we are going to stop running on treadmills. We are going to stop confusing movement for momentum. And we're going to talk about why busy is actually a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and how the people who actually do less but achieve exponentially more. Now let's look at the math of your day. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, really broke this down in a way that interests me. He says everyone has 24 hours. 8 hours for sleep, and please, I refer to actual sleep. 8 hours for survival, your job, your classes, the things that you have to do to pay the bills. And that leaves you with 8 more hours. And here's what he said. He said, it's not what you do in your 8 working hours that changes your life. It's what you do in the other 8 hours. That's where the dream lives. That's where the skills get built. That's where the future gets architected. But what do most of us do with those 8 hours? We fill them with busy. We scroll. We answer emails and messages that don't really matter. We worry. We gossip. We do low value work just to feel productive. Most ambitious people are working incredibly hard, 12-hour days. In fact, Adiola used to say full-time, part-time, and overtime. The working nights, the working weekends, always busy, always moving. But 6 months down the road, they look up and realize nothing has structurally changed. Of course, they were busy every single day, but they built almost nothing. We've turned exhaustion into a status symbol, like being busy is a badge of honor. Sometimes we say, I don't have time. Well, of course, I think you have the time. You're just spending it on busy instead of building. Today, we are going to reclaim those 8 hours. So let's start with the diagnosis. Why did busy become the thing we are chasing? Why do we wear exhaustion like a medal? And I think there are 3 reasons. And they are all cultural programming we absorbed without questioning. The first reason is the industrial era conditioning. We were trained in schools, in early jobs, in every system or institution we passed through to equate hours with value. Sit at the desk, look engaged. Time became the proxy for contribution because in a factory, output was easy to measure. You made widgets, more hours meant more widgets. If you worked 8 hours, for example, you made a certain number of widgets. And if you worked 12 hours, it means you made more widgets. That logic worked for industrial work, but it doesn't work for knowledge or intellectual work. You can sit at a desk for 10 hours and produce nothing of value. Or you can actually think deeply for about 2 hours and solve a problem that changes everything, something that changes the trajectory of an entire business. But we still measure ourselves by hours. We still feel guilty if we are not visibly busy. That's the industrial era thinking applied to a knowledge economy, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, the second reason is status. I'm so busy is how we communicate importance. It signals I'm needed, I'm valuable, I matter. It's a kind of defense mechanism against irrelevance. And I get it. In a world where your value isn't always clear, being busy at least proves that you're doing something. But once you've built an identity around being busy, you can't stop. Stopping feels like disappearing. So you stay busy even when it's not productive, because at least you can say you're working hard, right? Now, the third reason, which I think is the most uncomfortable one, busy is often a way to avoid the harder and the scarier work. Now, just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. And for a lot of people, being busy is a way to feel productive without having to face the strategic questions, the difficult decisions, the creative risks, the work that actually moves things. Busy feels safer because it's visible. You can point to it. You can say, wow, look at everything I did today. Strategy, on the other hand, is invisible until it works. So if you're afraid it won't work, busy becomes a way to cover up. At least you can say, well, you tried, or at least you can say you were working hard. Now, like I said, busy is lazy thinking. It means you haven't done the hard work of deciding what actually matters. So you do everything hoping something will work. That's not hustle. That's avoidance dressed up in ambition. I want to talk about a pattern I've been noticing. And I'm not giving you a framework here. I'm just trying to describe what I see when I watch how people spend their time. Three types of work show up, and the distribution between them tells me everything about whether someone is building or just performing. Now, there's work that you do once and it generates value long after you've moved on. That's the work that keeps paying you. Say you document a process and now someone else can execute it without asking you questions. Or you create a product that sells while you are asleep. You turn a one time project into a recurring relationship. You teach something in a way that scales. You write something that teaches what you know, and people find it 2 years later. This is the work that compounds your effort. And most people avoid it because it's hard, it requires deep thinking, it's cognitively expensive, and the payoff is not immediate. You're building something today that pays you in the future, which means today feels less productive than it could. That's the kind of work many people avoid doing. But this is the only work that actually builds leverage. Everything else is just trading time. Then there's the work that must get done, otherwise things will break, things will fall apart. Things like invoicing clients, responding to necessary emails, managing logistics, showing up to meetings where real decisions get made. This doesn't move you forward. It doesn't create new value. But if you don't do these things, of course, things will definitely break, things will definitely fall apart. Most people spend the majority of their week here, not just because they want to, but because they haven't figured out how to automate it, how to delegate it, or how to eliminate it. And then there's work that doesn't actually need to exist. Things like refreshing emails constantly, meetings that should have been a simple message, tweaking something for the fifth time when maybe the second version was already good enough, scrolling dashboards to check in on things that don't really change daily. This work feels productive in that moment because you're actually doing something, but if you stop doing it entirely, nothing important will change. Nothing. And that's the test. If you stopped, would anything break? If your answer is no, then it means it's not productivity, it's actually performance. So here's what I want you to do. Just pay attention for 3 days. What are you actually spending your time on? Not what does your calendar say, not what you think you're doing. What are you actually doing? How much of your week is work that keeps paying you? How much of it is just maintenance? And how busy are you performing without actually producing? Now, most people, when they do this honestly, they realize that they are spending maybe 10 or 20% of their time on work that compounds. The rest is maintenance and theater. When you notice that imbalance, that's the reason why you feel like you're working so hard and building so little. The builder doesn't try to do more, the builder does less. But what they do is almost entirely the first type of work, the type of work that compounds. And everything else, they automate it, they delegate it, or they stop pretending as though it really, really matters. If you feel like you're constantly working but not moving forward, the problem is not motivation, it's your architecture. I quoted Leila before, who said, "You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And I think that's one of the most important distinctions in this conversation. If you have to use your brain power to decide when to work out, what to eat, or what to work on first, you're already losing. You're burning expensive cognitive fuel on cheap decisions. A builder automates the basics so that they can focus on what actually matters. They make decisions ahead of time. If you decide on Sunday what you're going to do on Monday, then it means you don't have to negotiate with yourself on Monday morning. You just execute. While busy people are constantly reacting, builders are executing a script that they already wrote. I came across something very important that stuck with me. A certain guy mentioned a particular statistic from his doctor which showed that most male entrepreneurs have heart attacks on Monday mornings. And why is that so? It's not because Monday is hard. It's not because of the Monday blues. It's because they didn't have a buffer. They bled their work into their weekend. They stressed throughout Saturday and Sunday. They never actually recovered. So when Monday hits, boom, the engine blows. Now this guy uses what he calls the buffer day. For him, it's Fridays. For you, it might be Wednesday or Sunday morning. But you need a period of time where you're actually offline to protect your cognitive sovereignty. If your calendar has no white space, you have no capacity for opportunity. You're just a laborer in your own life. You need to schedule the nothing so that you can handle the everything. I also mentioned Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, who talks about 3 levels of growth. Level 1 is hard work. We all start there. Of course, you have to grind. Level 2 is smart work, systems, leverage, strategy. And level 3 is your network, who you know does the work for you. If you're 40 years old and you're still using hard work, sweating for every dollar, you failed to graduate. You're busy, but you're not building. Wealth requires you to move up that ladder. Now, let me bring this down to where you actually live, because understanding the pattern is one thing and applying it is another. If you're an employee, you probably think busy is how you get promoted. You stay late, you reply to emails at midnight, you want to be seen working. Stop. Your boss doesn't pay you for emails, they pay you for results. I recently just talked about the physics of progress. Don't focus on the output, focus on the input. But not just any input, focus on the right input. Instead of doing 100 things poorly, do the 3 things that actually drive revenue for the company exceptionally well. Ask your boss, what are the 3 things that matter most in this quarter? And ignore the rest. That's not laziness. That's actually called strategic focus. If you're a side hustler or a solo founder, your enemy is a $10 task. You're designing logos, you're editing videos, you're cleaning your inbox. Stop. If a task can be done by someone for $10 or $15 an hour, and you're the one doing it, it means you're telling the world that your time is worth $10 an hour. You cannot build a multi-million-dollar business doing minimum wage work. Use AI, use automation, or simply delete the task. Most of what you're probably doing doesn't even need to be done anyway. It doesn't need to be done at all. And now, to those who are starting from zero, you're working multiple jobs and you're grinding just to survive. I see you. I know you have to work hard, but remember the other 8 hours. If you're working as a security guard or a cleaner, for example, that's your survival. But what are you listening to while you work? Are you listening to music? Or are you listening to a masterclass? Are you using your commute to scroll or to learn? Your busy is survival, yes? But your productivity is what you do with your mind while your hands are busy. That's how you escape. So why does any of this matter? Because Future Foundations is about legacy, and you cannot leave a legacy if you burn out at 45. You cannot build a dynasty if you're too busy to have dinner with your children. You cannot pass on what you've learned if you're too exhausted to teach it. We are building for the next 30 years, and not just the next 30 days. And when you choose to be productive instead of just being busy, you're buying back your life. You're buying back the time to be present, to be a parent, a mentor, a builder of something that lasts. You are not a tourist in your own life. You are the architect. So act like it. I'm not letting you leave without a challenge. This week, I want you to do what I call the audit of averages. Look at your last 7 days. Highlight in red everything you did that didn't move the needle. Scrolling, long meetings with no agenda, worrying, low value admin. Now highlight in green the things that actually built an asset. Learning a skill, closing a sale, building a system, creating something that compounds. If your week is 90% red, it means you're not a builder, you're a tourist. Pick one red task and kill it. Delete it. Delegate it. Automate it if you may. Just stop doing it. And then every night this week, ask yourself this question. What is the one thing I can do tomorrow to make it better than today? Write it down. Do that one thing first. Before the emails, before your meetings, before anything else. Stop sweating. Start climbing. Now, I've put access to a simple tracker in the description if you want it. It could be a helpful tool for you to make this audit and recognize the pattern. For our next discussion, I'd like to talk about portable skills, the specific capabilities that let you generate income anywhere, anytime. I hope to see you there. This is Future Foundations. Go build something.